Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. If you're new here, then my name is Ash. It's lovely to have you, and in today's video, as you will know by the title, we are going to be talking all about potty training. Now, this is something that I am obviously not an expert in. However, I have got two kids. I have got a 4-year-old daughter, Ella, who I potty trained myself when she was 2, and then I've got a son, Charlie, who is 2.5, and we have recently just completed potty training with him. So I just thought it would be nice to make this video. I know it was asked on Instagram if I'd make this, but I just wanted to share with you my tips and tricks on how we've done potty training, how it has been a success for us, just the tips I feel that we've done twice over now and have definitely worked for us. Now, if you've tried potty training before, there may be something in this video that you haven't tried that may just manage to tip it over the edge and get you on that big parenting milestone of having completed the potty training. It is not something we look forward to as parents, it's kind of something we dread, but it's definitely a necessity to do. So I have got some tips that I feel like these steps will really just kind of map out your toilet training situation with your kids and hopefully get them into pants and out of nappies. So if you enjoy this video and you find it useful and you're not already a parent or you're not at that stage anymore with potty training, then either save it for future reference, send it over to a friend. You never know, there might be something in here that they find very helpful, and if you find it helpful, then please do give this video a like. Comment below if there's anything I've missed that you think was so imperative to your potty training journey. And yeah, it's just parents over here sharing tips and just trying to get us through this. So without further ado, I'm going to get into it, share my tips with you, and I really hope that this helps you in your journey. Tip number 1 is something we did with both of our kids, and that is to introduce the toilet early. We very much have an open door policy when I go to the toilet and the kids are around, and yeah, they just kind of like to see where I am more than anything, but it just means that the toilet is always something they're used to seeing and used to seeing being used, not just something in the house that seems to be an ornament that sits in a room, but they actually know what it's for. So now this was easier with Charlie. Obviously, with having my 4-year-old daughter, he was able to see her going to the toilet and doing her business and knew what it was to be used for, and he could obviously see that she didn't wear a nappy, she wore pants, and we used to kind of talk this through from an early age. With Ella, we actually introduced a potty when she was 1, which is very, very early. However, we used to put her on it just during the day. If she was maybe eating a snack or she was having her breakfast, we'd put her on the potty, and if she just managed to do something, then we would tell her well done and actually show her what her pee looked like. Because it's funny, we just assume kids to know these things, but they don't always know what it is to do a pee, or to do a wee as we call it. We would tell her she's just done a wee in the potty, and she would get really excited and she would actually know what that was, if that makes sense. So I'm just trying to explain to them what the toilet is, why we go there, what we do there, and just make it part of a regular routine. With Charlie, I actually just went straight to the toilet with him. We did not introduce a potty, just because I felt that the potty was going to confuse him. No one in this house uses a potty, we don't use a potty, so for us to teach him how to toilet train using a potty just felt like an extra step for us. So we took him straight to the toilet, and we used to do this every night before he went into a bath. It was just kind of a gentle approach to toilet training. We didn't really pressure him to do anything. We just sat him on there the way we would do with Ella before she went in the bath, and he would just copy her, do the same. Sometimes nothing would happen. Sometimes we would tell him to do a big squeeze and he might let out a little gasp of air. But yeah, we would tell him to do the toilet on the toilet before he would go in for a bath or a shower, and just made that bit easier for us to then introduce that further down the stage, that he would actually know what it was used for before we started day 1 of toilet training. For the week before Charlie went to do proper toilet training, whenever I thought he was going to do the toilet, I would often lift him, take him. So we would just introduce it very, very early. And months previous to this, if I thought Charlie was going to do a poo, if I could tell, I would just lift him and take him straight away and try and get him to do it on the toilet, just so we were gently introducing it to him before we started really putting him into pants and getting him out of his nappies for real. Tip number 2 seems very obvious and very, very cliche, but wait until they're ready. Please do not ever feel pressured by aunties, grans, mums, friends, nursery mums, whoever, Instagram, me. Never feel pressured by anybody else to start toilet training your child until they are ready. Now, for me, signs of readiness are very much the obvious: touching themselves when they are doing the toilet through their nappy, taking their nappy off and saying they don't want it, if they often hide behind furniture to go to the toilet because they're embarrassed, if they do something in particular each time they go to the toilet the obvious one tends to be if their face goes red when they're doing a number 2, then that is very good signs that you know when they're ready to go to the toilet. But for me, the absolute most important sign is that they can actually say that they need to go to the toilet. That for me was the one thing that held me back with Charlie much more than it did with Ella, because he actually couldn't tell me that he needs to go to the toilet, and I think it's very unfair to expect them to tell you to go to the toilet if they can't actually tell you they need the toilet. So I waited until we could try and teach Charlie how to say, I need a wee wee, I need the toilet, can I go to the toilet, all of these things. We would try and say these words around him and these sentences around him for a long period of time before we actually started toilet training, so he knew how to say I need to go to the toilet. It just gave us a much better grounding for starting. If he can actually tell us he needs to go, then it's a very good start, rather than just me as the parent guessing when he's going and then potentially being disappointed when he has an accent and can't communicate it to me. So you've introduced the toilet very early, you've waited till they are ready and they have got good signs that they're ready. They're touching, they're telling, they're talking, they're taking their pants off, they're taking their nappies off, they're hiding, they've got red faces when they're pooing. You're ready to go and you've decided that this is the time that they are going to start toilet training. Now, the very first thing we ever did when we were toilet training with Charlie was get him some new pants. We got him really excited. We went to Asda and we picked him some Toy Story pants. They had Buzz Lightyear on them, Woody, all the little aliens. He absolutely loves them, and we used to put the pants on him, and on the front of the pants would have Buzz or Woody, and we would say, don't do a wee wee in Buzz or Woody. I was really excited to have character pants. I know this works really well with kids, with colours, with characters, basically just anything that they want to pick. It just makes them feel a little bit more involved and it's their possession, so they're less likely to have an accident if they know it's something that they like. So yeah, picking the pants was a big step and also a very exciting one in the toilet training journey. Now you've picked your day. We started on a Monday, which is very typical, but you might be working, you might want to go and do it on the weekends, you might not be at home, you might have your kids in childcare. Pick 3 days that you are free, that you can have yourself or someone you know and trust to try and help toilet train your child. I would definitely say day 1 is the most important day to have them just with you and stay at home. I know it's really difficult, especially with breathless children, they love to be outdoors, but if you have a back garden, great, but I would say stay at home and stay near anywhere that has a toilet. After Charlie woke up in the morning, we took him straight into the bathroom and showed him his pants that he had picked, got him to pick a pair to try on and wear for the day, and we had the whole chat about no nappies. I actually showed him his nappy and said he's not wearing them anymore. Wearing your Buzz Lightyear pants, we're going to say goodbye to our nappies. We waved goodbye to the nappies and put them in the drawer, and he put on his pants for the day. So I think that's a really important part of potty training, is actually explaining to your kids what's happening. I think we sometimes are very guilty of thinking they don't know what we're saying, but they are very in tune to what we're saying. Having that conversation where you tell them they're doing wee-wees in the toilet and poos in the toilet and they're not going to be doing it in their pants or their nappy as it were, that is a very good way to start, and it's certainly the way that we started. I would have them say okay to me when I told them that, just so I felt like they were agreeing with me, and then we started. So that is how we began. This is a very important tip, but make sure that they have comfortable clothes on. For girls, I found this very easy. I just put a dress on Ella so I could whip it up and down very easily to get her pants off and go to the toilet. It also helps if you do this within the summer months, because if they do have accidents, getting things dried and washed and back out hanging in the washing line is a much easier thing. I just found it was a much easier process during the summer holidays. So that's when we did it with both of our kids, just the way it worked out with their ages. Making sure they have comfortable clothes on is definitely a very important tip, because there's less faff when they get to the point where they need to go. They're not going to have an accident because you can't undo their skinny jeans or whatever they're wearing. So I would definitely say comfortable trousers, shorts, even just leaving them in their pants is quite a good idea. That's sometimes what we would do, is just leave him in his pants and t-shirt wandering around the house, so that it was very quick and easy to grab him, take them off and go and do the toilet. Tip number 7 is something that I always advise friends or anyone who asks me over on Instagram when they are starting to toilet train, and that is to go straight to the big toilet. I just briefly mentioned this earlier, but we never actually had a potty for Charlie We did have one, but we didn't actually use it. For me, it just felt like an extra step to train him on the potty, then train him on the toilet. So instead of having to train twice over, I just thought we'll go straight to the big toilet. It makes more sense for him. He sees everybody else in the house using the toilet. No one uses the potty. It feels like it makes more sense for him to start using that the same as everybody else than to use a potty. Of course, for comfort, you can get them the little seats that sit inside. I will link some of my favourite ones below because we did have one. However, there is actually scientific evidence behind having your child sitting on the toilet seat, resting their hands on the toilet seat and going a little bit lower into the bowl. This might be a little bit disgusting, or people might think it's a bit unhygienic to actually touch the toilet, but you're in your own home, you can clean as much as you like. Charlie, this is the way he learned. They say it's actually easier for them to make a bowel movement. I'm sorry if this is TMI, but it's a toilet training video. I think we all know we're going to be talking about poos and weeds, but yeah, it's actually easier for them to make a bowel movement when they are sitting at a lower angle with their bottom than their kneecaps. Because you're at that angle, it encourages them to actually do a poo rather than sitting with their knees at a 90-degree angle. So yeah, it is actually a better way to do the toilet and to make your bowels move. So yeah, he actually learned to do it this way and it has worked amazingly well for us. Not only that, with him being a little boy, obviously the logistics of sitting at that angle meant that sometimes we were going to get soaked. So it was much easier for us to have him slightly in the bowl to save all of our clothes, the floor and his little embarrassment. So yeah, I would definitely recommend trying that. I know that some kids might be a little bit afraid. Charlie took to it very easily because he watches what we do and what his sister does. So that is the way that he has learned. Straight to the big toilet, no potties, but like I say, there are toilet seats you can get. Also little steps for them to get up on, but for me, I just lifted them, put them on the toilet, and that was us, no faff. Now, this is probably the most difficult part of training your child to go to the toilet, and it is so time consuming, but go every 20 minutes. You can actually use like your Google Home Hub, or if you have an Alexa, I'm sure they do the same, or even just your phone or a stopwatch or your watch on your wrist, but set a 20-minute timer every 20 minutes for the first day until they go nap or until they go to bed. Set a 20-minute timer. So you want to be going to the toilet with them 3 times every hour, and that way it stops them from having an accident. Now, I said this over on Instagram, Charlie never had an accident the whole week of toilet training until the Saturday, and that was because he couldn't find us. We were in the garden, he was in the house, and he forgot that we were sitting outside on the deck, and he'd been in playing in the toy room and he couldn't find us, and by the time he came to get us, it was too last minute, and we'd left it longer than half an hour, potentially even up to 45 minutes, and by the time he found us, he ended up having a little accident in his pants, but he did come to try and find us. On day one, I would definitely say going every 20 minutes is essential because you don't want them to have an accident. If they have an accident, I sometimes feel as if they get put off trying to do it again, and it just kind of goes that way until you feel at the end of the day and feel miserable and feel like you haven't actually managed to get the potty training underway. So I would say every 20 minutes, it's what I did with Ella as well. Take them to the toilet, let them try, and even if they don't do anything, still tell them well done. This was one of my most helpful tips when we were potty training, and that was to sing a song when they're on the toilet, because kids have such a short attention span, especially Charlie. Go on there, do a little tinkle, wouldn't be finished and would jump off again. So if we sang a song or we ran the tap or we did something, it would actually keep him engaged on there a little bit longer, and he might actually do something bigger than just a little tinkle. I would always say to him was, "Wee wee, where are you? Where are you, wee wee? Where are you, poo?" And then whenever he then did the wee wee or did the poo, I would say, "There, you're there," and we would get really excited, and then it was almost like it was a bit of a game for him. So try doing that, because you know what kids are like, they love the idea of playing games, singing along, that kind of thing. I would like to think I am a very, very kindly mum, fun mum, at least I try to be, but this will come across a bit controversial, especially when it comes to potty training. And I'm going to close my eyes when I say it. But I don't give rewards. I've just never done it. I've never given stickers, I've never given sweets, I've never given chocolate, I've never given any kind of cash incentive for going to the toilet. I have only just given my kids praise. And the reason why I've done that is because I kind of think, when does it stop? If I'm going to start giving them a little treat, a sticker, something good every time they go to the toilet. Knowing my kids, they would look for it every day until they're 40, so there's no way I was going to start it. My kids love showing off, as all kids do, so if they did a wee or a poo in the toilet, the first thing I would tell them was to go and tell whoever else was in the house that they'd done it, so they could get that extra attention. I would do loads of cuddles, kisses, well done, that's amazing, well done, good for you, you did a wee in the toilet. Get really excited, but I've never ever given them a chocolate, a sticker, a sweetie, a prize, nothing. Never had anything for doing a wee or a poo in the toilet. And I don't know, it might work for you doing it that way, but I just always felt it was a bit faffy. If I'm out and about, where am I grabbing my stickers from, my chocolates from, my sweets from? They would just constantly go and try and do the toilet just to get a sweet. I just know my kids would do that, so I have never given them a reward for doing a wee or a poo in the toilet. They've just had nothing but praise, and that has been enough for them. When you get to day 2, I would say take them out for around half an hour if you can, or longer, and try and get them to go to the toilet outside. Not physically outside, but wherever you are. So avoid places like soft play where they can go and disappear in their pants. I would always just have my kids go a walk with me, or we'd maybe go to the shop, or we'd go somewhere for around an hour maybe, get them to go to the toilet out in public and then come home again, just to get them used to doing it elsewhere other than their own house. And also another tip I wanted to let you guys know was that I have never used a pull-up ever. I've always just given my kids pants. If they wee them, it's fine. I feel like they kind of need to get that sensation of being wet. The pull-up thing is great if you just want to take them out and you're going about for ages and you're really worried about them being at, I don't know, a birthday party or something where it's going to be really inconvenient if they were to have a big wet mess everywhere. I totally understand. But if you're doing potty training and you don't have any plans, I would definitely say don't use a pull-up, because I have never used one with them, and it means when they do get wet, they don't particularly like it and they don't want to do it again. So I always feel like it's better for them to not have a pull-up and have the security of not feeling wet. Getting themselves soiled or getting themselves wet when they're potty training, it's all part of it, and it will definitely deter them from doing it again, because no one likes to pee themselves, let's face it. Now that is all my tips I have for you. I mean, they're not massively extensive, they're just very practical tips and lines that I've tended to follow as I've potty trained both of mine, and they both got it in a day. It was very straightforward. I mean, I have made a much more in-depth, very chatty version of this maybe 2 years ago now when Ella was 2, so if you'd like to see that, I'll link it. I look much younger, much slimmer, please don't judge. But I have got some questions on Instagram that I'm going to take to now and answer them to see if you guys have any questions for potty training that I can answer that I've maybe not covered so far in this video. So the first question is, how long did it take you and did you stay at home? So I stayed at home for the first day, and on the second day we ventured out for around an hour, and it did take me, I would say it took me 1 day for Charlie not to wee in his pants, because we went every 20 minutes. But does that mean he was potty trained in a day? He would start coming back to me and telling me he needed the toilet by day 2, so I would say yeah, it took us a day to properly get him to come and ask me. But obviously with him being a toddler, he's still going to have accidents like further down the line. Just because I trained him in a day basically, then it doesn't mean he's not going to have accidents further down the line. I mean, let's face it, he is just a kid. But we stayed at home for 1 day, and then the next day we ventured out for about an hour. You could probably do that a few times within that day, so long as you always come back to home turf and have him or her feeling more comfortable at home. I've got a question here that says, I know everyone is different, but what age and stage do you think is best to start potty training? I've said this before, like every kid is different. I would say when they can actually say to you, I need the toilet, like as in when they can say those words and they can form those sentences, it's a very good indicator that you can actually speak to them and they understand you and they can communicate. Just like one of my tips earlier on, if they are showing signs of hiding when they're doing the toilet, or they're taking their nappy off, or they're touching their nappy when they're doing the toilet, these are all really good signs that they're ready. But until they can actually communicate it, I would definitely hold off. Someone's asked me, how did you night train Charlie? And to be honest, I have not even thought about night training him just yet. He still wears a pull-up at night time, just because there is actually evidence to say that children can't actually hold their bladder through the night until they're 3 properly. So I don't want to put too much pressure on that. Ella was still wearing a nappy at night time when she was 3, and we only just took it off roughly after her 3rd birthday. So I'm going to continue to do that until he is 3 probably. The next question is, did you reward Charlie with something every time he went to the toilet? And as I've said before, very controversially, I haven't, just because I don't know when you then stop that, and I don't want to make my kids feel like they're no longer getting rewarded for doing something good. So I'll always give them the, you know, credit and applause and praise every time they go and they get to show off, and that's enough for them. One here said that they are putting off training their little boy because so many people say that it is very difficult. Now obviously I do not know anything about the anatomy of a boy and a girl being difficult to train because of how they are made up. However, all I can say is that the way that Charlie was trained, he sits in the toilet the same way Ella sits on the toilet. He doesn't stand. He's much too small to do that just now, I feel. Just like logistically, he can't stand and hold, and you know, he's just not ready for that stage. He just sits on the way he would do a number 2, and that has just been the way that we have always worked it. But in saying that, I was the same. I was dreading training a boy because of what I've heard. However, if your child is ready, they always say this, if your kid is ready, it shouldn't be difficult. So if you're feeling like they're not ready to go to the toilet and they are maybe having a few days where you've tried and they keep having accidents and it's just not working for you, stop and try again in a couple of weeks or a few months. Try not get defeated on the first time. Like I say, we slowly introduced this for months, and then eventually one day I said, we're going for it, we're taking his nappy off, we're going to go for pants, and we're going to actually toilet train him. So with that being said, we have had a very similar experience training Charlie the way we have with Ella, but the difference being he's 6 months older than what she was, because the two of them were at completely different stages in their development. One was ready at 2, one was ready at 2.5. So yeah, I would just say that boys and girls are very different, but so are all children. So it's very difficult to stipulate genders. I mean, like I say, I don't know if it's technically speaking difficult to train a boy in comparison to a girl, but all I can say is, as a mum of both, they were very similar to train. One of the most common questions I've had about potty training and toilet training and children going to the toilet is, how do you get them to do a number 2? Now try the first tip that I said about them sitting lower into the toilet bowl to help encourage them to do a poo. However, if your child is scared to do a poo, put them in a nappy, cut a hole in the nappy at the bottom and let them try and do a poo in their nappy on the potty or the toilet. Once they see that the poo is in the bottom of the pan, they feel a bit more at ease. There is evidence to suggest that children actually feel that they're losing part of themselves if they were to do a poo into the toilet and not into their nappy. They say that children psychologically think that it's part of their body that they're losing, so it's quite a scary thought, and for that reason it's probably best to try and trick them into doing it into the toilet and then reassuring them that everything's still okay once it's in the toilet. A lot of the questions I've got in here are the same, so I just wanted to round up by saying, if you are trying to potty train and you're trying to toilet train and it's just not working, try not to be too disheartened. They say it can actually take about 3 times to train a child to go to the toilet. Try and do what I was doing with Charlie and slowly introduce it for months, with just going to the toilet before bedtime or before going in the bath. Try and catch them when you think they're doing a poo and take them, whisk them over to the toilet and get them to do it in there. In the weeks coming up to them actually potty training, just slowly introduce it to them. I think it's very easy to forget that they have only ever known nappies ever since they have been born, so for them to change to doing this a whole different way is a massive milestone. So yeah, try and take it easy, don't be too disheartened, and if you are doing the slow training with just kind of gently introducing it and you feel like they could be ready, you will get really good indication that they know what's happening after a while doing that. I would then say just go for it for a few days. If it doesn't work, stop for a few weeks and try again. Don't ever criticise them, try not to give them into trouble, it's really not their fault. It's just a massive learning curve, and yes, I just wish you all the best in your toilet training journey. I hope you get out of nappies ASAP with your little ones, and yeah, try and not feel the pressure to do so, because let's face it, they're never going to be in their 30s and 40s still in a nappy. Well, at least we hope not. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. If you have, then share it with friends if they'll find it helpful, and I will see you on my next video. Bye!